Okay, I I have to be clear. This story gave me a migraine reading it, and I'm almost hesitating to read it again because of it. The California Highway Patrol went on a absolutely frantic aerial hunt for an Antifa bus, which never existed. And this is just an example of like misinformation, infiltrating a law enforcement agency, and basically nobody having the common sense to figure out that this like smelled funny like from the start and like probably wasn't real. There was, I mean, earlier this year there was a lot of there was like a lot of controversy around people getting afraid of like these Antifa buses that were like coming to go like destroy their neighborhood, and all of them were discovered to be hoaxes. This is something that social media was circulating around. It was so bad that there were people who were not evacuating fire zones because they had heard on Facebook that an Antifa bus was in the area, and if they left their home, this bus was going to come. I mean, this is like actually affecting people's lives. You could be someone's kid and be like, Dad won't let us leave the fire zone because he thinks the Antifa bus is coming. Like this is really crazy. But you think that this would be like very poorly educated people that would be falling for this sort of thing, not the California Highway Patrol, which has aerial units that were apparently tasked for this. So, okay, so this started out as like one person. Be aware, I have heard from a reliable source that Antifa buses with close to 200 people, domestic terrorists, are planning to infiltrate Reading and cause distraction and destruction. There was another Facebook post kind of warning the same thing. And then the chief of the California Highway Patrol Division asked her colleagues to look into claims and notify our allied agencies in town. So this lady like read this on Facebook. She was like, "Oh no!" and like called all her work people and was just like, "All right, saddle up, California Highway Patrol. It's time to get on this internet conspiracy." So the thought that these buses are roaming, looking for events to attend, and the thought is that these buses are roaming, looking for events to attend. So then another CHP sergeant told a listserv of commanders. So this is like lots of people within the organization. Possible Antifa buses are heading to Reading, and adding that the agency's tactical alert center had been notified. Be on the lookout for any Antifa buses on the way coming from Oregon. So this is getting crazy. Like at this point in Humboldt and Shasta County, these sheriff's departments were getting a little concerned about this thing that didn't exist. And eventually this led to aerial surveillance. I just can't stress that like the fact that aircraft were launched in order to investigate what was very clearly like not a real thing is pretty crazy. There was no evidence that this was ever actually happening. This was basically like a game of telephone that was started by like a lady who like read something on social media and then started sending it out to a bunch of panicked people that like didn't properly vet information. And the result was potentially pretty dangerous. I mean, like if you have people thinking there's an emergency, wasting resources, and also like coming in hot, like expecting to be in a fight with a bunch of confrontational people, it's really scary here that the police, as the article says, lacked basic social media literacy.
That's a great subtitle.
Yeah, like basically, like once you graduate from high school, like it's kind of hoped or expected that you would be able to take a piece of information that's like sensational but like obviously false, or at least reasonably false, and be able to like do the work to determine whether or not a real emergency was happening. But in this case, an entire agency started flipping out because basically they were abusing their internal communications process for spreading conspiracy theories. So if you are an agency with like aircraft and lots of guns and vehicles and stuff, then like it's really critical, obviously, that like dumb internet conspiracies not consume massive amounts of your time. I understand you could be bored, but like it doesn't mean that you need to start performing aerial surveillance for things that aren't really there. A CHP unit conducted a short search for buses. However, they were unable to locate them. What a huge surprise! I wonder why. No suspects were surveilled, contacted, or apprehended, and no threat was identified. The Antifa bus mission was a 12-minute event. So at some point, they also said that they had confirmed buses in Reading, which really made this entire thing a lot worse. But these like baseless right-wing social media posts that eventually turned into real action by like a California law enforcement agency just show that nowadays this sort of disinformation has real consequences. And if these hyped up, like scared officers were to encounter a bus full of people who might look like they could belong to this, it could make them think they were in a much more dangerous situation than they really were. So this is just sad. And again, the migraines coming back, like having read all these details. Please like check out this story if you guys want to see how some of this propaganda can really actually have real world consequences and how dangerous this sort of stuff can be. Obviously, the sort of like kind of like influence of paranoia within like police agencies. Like this is the article kind of goes into some of the training that these officers have gotten. A police newsletter called the NorCal Sheepdog, talking about off-duty safety, is talking about how in the era of anonymous Antifa and BLM, you have to constantly be paranoid and basically always be ready to be attacked. Maintain vigilant threats for watch off duty, always be armed, train with your off duty, prepare for the possibility of building a victim, and always be paranoid. Like, I'm not going to say don't watch out for yourself, but like amping people up to make them think that everyone is going to fight them and then telling them the Antifa bus is on its way is a great way to make people panic. So, like, times are divisive and propaganda has real effects. This is just one of those examples of how unchecked propaganda can really start to spread out of control. And in this case, it was somewhat limited, but it's just, aircraft were launched, men were running around with guns. Like, this is not like a minor deal when this much effort is launched for something that's obviously not real.
Yeah, the level of like misinformation and miscommunication there just over something like so basic is scary. Because like there's so many different levels that this can be taken to as well. Like this was just like a really basic thing from like a very simple social media post that scared like the absolute heck out of all these police units. That's just terrifying.
Yeah, and the amount of just like panic and like and how many people were contributing false information here is really what's startling. Like first there was the lady that would just like said something, that she saw on Facebook to an inappropriate like group of people. It's like you can share this with like your nephews and nieces on Facebook who have to follow you. Don't share it to your police commanders or like your sergeants or whatever, like who have to listen to you for work. But like, the guy in the helicopter had to be told something, right? Like there's a whole chain of people who should have been like, how have we confirmed this? But they have to go on each other's word. So if you have people on your team being like, we have confirmed the Antifa bus, you're like, damn, well, either like Steve is the liar or like the Antifa bus is actually here and I got to go get in the helicopter. So, so many mistakes here. Like it could have gone so much worse. There could have been so many more problems. And like, it's just this incident, like kind of was just like swept under the rug. But I've seen fewer incidents that could have gone very wrong like this involving like a large police agency. So it's worth noting that this kind of thing does happen. And that is all the news we have time for today. If you guys feel like we missed anything, or if you want us to go deeper into another topic, or if you have any questions, please make sure to leave them on the YouTube channel. We will make sure to include your questions on the weekly Q&A that we are doing next week on Tuesday. So we hope to see you there on that next live stream. And I think that's it. Alex?
It's great being here. See you guys next week.
See you guys next week. Bye.